Hello my beautiful people, so welcome to the first edition of the Life Path Number series. As many of you caught the first episode yesterday, we're going to be traveling through the numbers of numerology, what they mean, what they carry, what their energies and their experiences are. And I really hope, thank you for all of you that commented on the original or the first video that I did yesterday, and we're going to go through the numbers. I really hope you enjoy the series. For those of you that don't know, I am Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like a personal tarot reading or delve into your own life in some way, shape or form, please check out my website, which is in the description link below. And this is all about numerology. It's all about the life paths, and we're going to go through them every single day. I'm going to post a different life path and we're going to talk about them in depth. So today is all about life path number one. I've got my trusty notes. I've got my, the board here to kind of give you some stuff to ponder on your own as well, but things to talk about. So we're talking about the life path one. And life path one, it's where everything starts. If you wanted to give it a color, you would be looking at red or orange, and would be talking sort of more to the red end of orange. And the reason being because the number one represents what we call the primum mobile, the driving force behind everything. And in its association to energy, you're talking about what is considered projectile force, masculine energy. And this isn't about male or female, because you have women as well as men that are life path number ones. We're talking about the type of energy that the number itself carries, the type of energy and experience that you are likely to have down to the number. So this isn't about gender. It's got nothing to do with that here. In fact, actually gender has nothing to do with spirituality at all. So people that bring that in, I'm always a bit confused, because I'm like, well, that's got nothing to do with anything if we're talking about things on a spiritual or energetic basis purely. We use specific words to define a type or an experience or an expression of energy. So the number one is all about independence. It's all about being at the forefront. The number one is the start of the cycle. It's where everything kicks off. And so because it is at the beginning of the cycle, you expect it to be highly energetic, to be passionate, to be vibrant, to be feisty, to be forthright. People with a life path one, once they find their voice, tend to be very forthright. They will really speak their mind. They will really speak up and say exactly what they think. And very often the life path one in the early years will struggle to be heard. I've got this image of a lot of people out there at the moment being like, well, I'm a life path one and I haven't always found it easy to say what I feel and all the rest of it. And the truth of the matter is, the one experience tends to have, as a young person, they tend to have an experience where they feel like they can't speak, or where they're held back from speech, and kind of in some way felt limited by external factors. And a part of the life path one is to push through that experience in order to stand for yourself, to learn about yourself, to be deeply creative, to stand alone as well, and I've listed here a lot of the things. So what I call, in everything that we do in life itself is a series of blessings and lessons, right? And I've separated them here. So as the blessings of the number one, you've got independence, passion, energy, initiation. Initiation I want to talk about in just a minute. So energy, like I said, this is the start of the cycle. It's just like when you're moving a car, when you're moving a bike, when you take that first step, it takes the most energy at the beginning. And that's not to say that the number one is above or more powerful than any other number. It really isn't. They're all equal, aside from the master vibrations. It's just that to get things moving, to get things started, usually takes a lot of force, a lot of power, a lot of energy. That first step, I'll give you a quick rundown. Sometimes the first step that you take is the most powerful one. And I remember breaking my little toe. I remember taking the first step out of the door, and to take that first step to really get moving, I swung my foot forward and I crunched it right against the door frame. And obviously that first step is where you put a lot of energy, because it's the one that starts it. When you see a strong man pulling on a truck, that first initial push to get it moving is where you find the most energy expense. To keep it moving doesn't take so much energy, it takes more thought, it takes more strategy, but to get it moving takes the most amount of force. So that's what we talk about when we talk about the life path 1 having energy. It's energy and passion and drive and determination as well is another thing that we associate with the number 1. Very, very strong determination. So in terms of initiation, when I talk about initiation as a life path 1, a part of what you are here to do is figure out what you are here to do. A part of, and it is literally that. What am I here for? What am I here to show people? And more importantly, as a number 1, as a life path 1, what am I here to deliver to people? What kind of journey am I here to take some part of, if not all of humanity on? All number 1s in some way, shape or form need to be at the forefront, need to be doing something completely new, completely different. And very often when you go through the process of initiation, you walk a path that not many people understand because it's unique to you. And those are other tag words and lines for the number 1, unique. And to self-reliance and confidence. When the life path 1 finally discovers who they are, what their mission is and what they're all about, they are virtually unstoppable. They have this ability to just go and forge ahead with things, to start things, to create things, to tap into this energy of what it is to bring a brand new beginning. And ultimately, when you initiate something, what do? You begin it, you start it. And that's what the number 1 is all about. It's about bringing that initiatory energy, that projectile force to drive forward with a goal in mind and say, that is what I want to achieve. That's a big part of the life path number 1. Beginnings, I've put there, personal power. Now, this is a really interesting one because this goes back to what I said about the speech. When you're talking about the life path number 1, like I said, in the beginning, early stages, they all, at some point during their life, they tend to go through an experience where they feel like they can't speak or the outside is encroaching on them and what it is that they want to do or what it is that they want to achieve. Now, in that way, they get in touch with their personal power, and it's that personal power that makes them not explode, although, anger, aggression can be linked to the number 1 as well as some of the more challenging aspects of the number, and the interesting thing is that personal power. It's about discovering your personal power and understanding it and understanding what is the best way for me to direct my personal force. What is the way for me to direct my personal power? And more importantly, what is the way for me to own myself and my life and my path, no matter who understands it or doesn't? The life path 1 is here to be unique, is here to be at the forefront, is here to stand for themselves. Is here to stand alone. So some of the lessons going into this, to stand alone and to be self-reliant are 2 very different things. As a pioneer, when you are starting something, when you are doing something new, you have to tread ground that nobody has ever tread before. And in that way, you see yourself, you find yourself at the edge, at the fringe, at the forefront. And sometimes that can be a lonely place to be, but it's important that you go through that experience. The life path 1 comes with the experience of being a bit lonely at times in order for you to discover and utilize your personal power at its best, at its highest potential and highest peak. Following your own path, talking about this again, going more into depth with it, finding yourself on the fringe, forging a path that people may not necessarily understand, forging a path ahead that people might not necessarily even buy into at first, but it's important that you walk it nonetheless. Be careful what you start. Now, one of the things with the life path 1 is they tend to be really amazing at starting things, at getting things off the ground, and this is why they make such good leaders. This is why they make such good directors or managers or bosses or heads of companies, because they have the idea, they get it started, but they need the other numbers, the other people, the others or the other, in order to see that through. Seeing things through to completion is one of the things that the number 1 life path will tend to struggle with. And they struggle with it because their energy is spent in the idea, in the birth of something, of thinking, right, okay, I've got this idea, bam, I'm going to start it, I'm going to get it started, I'm going to put everything I've got into making it real, manifest. And then they kind of tend to either lose interest or lose momentum, and that's where the other numbers come in. That's where they need to seek the support. But getting things started, pushing things ahead, forging things ahead, making the difficult decisions, that's all with the life path number one. To use energy wisely, you know, this goes back to whatever you start, like, or more importantly, what is worth starting, what is using and expending that much energy on. Thinking about how to use your creativity. Where best can I utilize and spend this energy that I have to be self-reliant? Okay, so we've got self-reliance here as a blessing, and we've got self-reliance here as a lesson. Number ones tend to really struggle in life if they're dependent on somebody else. Not because they don't have anything, or they don't have anything of their own, or they can't generate anything of their own, but the experience of being dependent on somebody else is really difficult for them to go through. And in that way, when they find this ability to say, right, okay, I can be completely independent, I don't need anyone, but I want people, I want to bring people in. That's when they're truly at their best, because they're balanced. Moving forward alone, pioneering, I talked about this, being on the edge, being on the fringe, being out there, doing things that nobody else has ever done before. Sometimes it is lonely, but also once you tap into that energy, it can be really exhilarating. It can be so vibrant and passionate to live life at the forefront, doing things that have never been done before. That's what they're here for. And I've got some extra notes. Self-development is linked to the life path one. If you're here as a life path one, a part of your life is to develop yourself into the best person and being that you can be, and therefore you will lead the rest of the world with you. Time to create things, absolutely. Being a leader, finding and establishing new ways of doing things, of doing things that haven't been done before. Dealing with or being an authority figure is important, which is why they make really good managers, heads of companies, bosses. Being their own boss is usually a really high path for a number one, because they tend to have a lot of skirmishes with authority, and authority figures. Find out just what you're made of and what you're actually doing here. That's what the life path is here for. And it's important, if you are a life path number one and you're watching this, take on board other people's advice for sure, but you must always make sure your decisions are your own. You must always make sure that the way that you forge ahead is from your own mind, from your own heart, and from your own back. That's really, really important for the life path number one. It's part of why you've incarnated into that energy for that specific reason. Colours associated with the number one life path, we talked about red. The planet associated with the life path number one is the sun, and the stone, the crystal, if you like, or the stone or the gemstone, is the garnet or the ruby. Again, if you think about the chakras as well, and the root chakra, red, primal, deep, urge, desire, passion, vibrancy, fight, flight, all of that stuff, all tied into the number one, interestingly enough. So here, jobs and vocations. I know you guys have seen this title and you're sitting there like, is he going to get to this stuff? I absolutely am. I've made a list of stuff. Writers and teachers and coaches tend to come under the number one energy, because it's all about getting something out, what you've got to say, what you've got to offer, what you've got to deliver, and giving that to other people, showing them something, teaching them something, coaching them to be the best that they can be is a brilliant path for a number one, because they really feel that. Public speakers, obviously at the forefront, at the fringe, being heard. Trainers of any sorts, photographers, believe it or not, radio personalities, pilots, police officers, army personnel, obviously directors of companies, as we've already mentioned. And also, believe it or not, because of the amount of fiery energy that they have and the amount of spiritual energy they carry, all of them carry spiritual energy before anyone goes off on one, as I mentioned, healers. And they make really good, really powerful healers when they've done their own work. Once they've figured out what their personal life path 1 has been all about and training them for, they tend to be the most powerful healers. And the reason being is because they understand what is not theirs, and they are able to go in like a surgeon, you know, all of this sort of stuff ruled by the number 1, and really go into something and pinpoint it and say, that's what needs to change, that's what needs to be worked on, that's what needs to be healed. And in doing so, they become really powerful and really enlightened healers. So I hope you found this interesting and exciting. I am loving what I'm relearning about numerology, actually. You know, just in doing this and preparing for it and stuff. And it's like I always had this knowledge. I had the, you know, because I've been doing it for a long time. But to go back over it and really get back into it has been fascinating, and I love it. So I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance itself. I hope you enjoy it. And I really hope that these help you and they guide you in some way, shape or form. Take care, and I will see you very soon for the next installment. See ya.